Hey everybody, this is Andrew Benjamin of mmasucka.com. With us, we have Klocke, who's the North Dakota Combative Director, who oversees MMA, boxing, all the combat sports here in North Dakota. And we're going to be talking to him and finding out more like what does a sports commissioner do? What does a combat sports commissioner do? And maybe dispel some myths or confirm some myths, but try to find out more about what he does on his side of the sport. And Carl, I appreciate you. You're the one who suggested it, so all
Yeah,
the credit to
no,
you.
I saw a couple of your interviews and I thought it'd be kind of wanted to get on
Mm.
and just we can talk, usually talk to the fighters, so I wanted to we could talk a little bit about behind the scenes things and what it takes to host an event and, to make sure
So yeah,
everybody follows all the rules and regulations.
so tell me, how did you get into this position? Because I don't know, like if you were in MMA or if you were in another sport, or they just need somebody, so you're in another capacity and you just filled the position. How did you get into this?
Yeah, so I had seven MMA fights myself. I think my last one was like 2013, so it's been quite a while. But then at the time, the North Dakota director was Brandon Wilson, and we knew each other outside of combat sports. And he was like, "Hey, do you ever want to come on and be an inspector? Because it's kind of hard position to fill. It's not a paying job, so you really gotta like love the sport." And so I said, "Yeah, I'll come shadow an event." Did one, and I was like, "Yep, this is what I want to do." You're in the back watching everybody get their hands wrapped, make sure they got all the proper gear and all of that. And then it just kind of led to the director position became available and I jumped on it. And I haven't looked back since. And I'm really glad that I took this job because it's not even like a job to me. It's so fun.
Mm. So I know that there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of, I guess, fair dislikes for some commissions, and then I think there's unfair. I think a lot of people misconstrue what you exactly do. And can you do that? Can you just tell us like what exactly when it comes pen to paper? Someone comes and says I want to host an MMA show. Do you approve it, or like what's your uh how are you involved in
Yeah.
that?
So I piggybacking on your first part, I would
Yeah.
say like our number one concern is safety. So, I think people our fighters might think that, oh, you're being too harsh or too strict or but in the grand scheme of things, if something bad happens, which it has happened before in other states, it comes back to the commission and you got to make sure that you have followed all of the correct rules. So what happens is a promoter will reach out they'll probably usually go on the website, or if they haven't had a fight before, if they have, then they kind of know what to do. But there's information on the North Dakota Secretary of State website where it's my email, my phone number, and you reach out. And then we have basically a checklist of things to go through. So it's like there's an event request form right away. So they would fill out, location, date, this and that, whatever. It comes with a deposit. And then there's a promoter fee that they have to pay. That's a once a year fee. And then the event is for every event. So after that gets all said and done, I ask them if they know of the venue yet. Like, do you have a venue in mind? Most of the time they do. So it's like we need a contract from the venue. Once we get the contract, and we can start moving forward with them putting together a fight card. And then I have the ultimate say over the matchups, to make sure there's no mismatches or like, yeah, maybe I think this guy's just stepping in here to collect a payday. Not that that can't happen, but I just want to make sure that the skill levels are close. And then from there, so then the fighter, they get the fight card put together, and then on the fighters end, there's more paperwork to fill out, blood work, things like that. I have to get them a national ID, so they're in the database because there's every commission that's a part of the ABC, uses the same database, combat registry, and that's how you like do your suspensions and all that. And like there's notes behind fighter's name, like if this guy, was known to cancel last minute, or this guy has a history of missing weight, or yada yada yada. It's just a way of all the directors to be in contact with each other and just kind of have a page, to to have all that information. And the promoters are on it too, so they can see like if this fighter's suspended or not. And then once we go through this checklist, that's we're at the event.
So you know,
It's
I will. Sorry, go ahead.
it's a lot of like just behind the scenes paperwork type of stuff leading up to the event.
Mm. Uh,
It's the not so fun part, but it goes pretty good.
You brought up a point about an interesting point about mismatches or this person's coming to collect a paycheck. And I know on the amateur scene, particularly, or at least when fighters are beginning their pro career, I don't want to say that there's like a lot of shenanigans, but there is occasionally shenanigans. And what and if that's the case, like, oh, for example, okay, like say like, oh, there's a fighter who's 0-10 and has
Yeah,
been and they're going to be going up against somebody who's making their debut for so like, and it's amateur. Is that the
yeah.
type of fight that you would be like, you would nix and be like, this is like,
No, not necessarily. I mean, a lot of times it's a case by case. Like, what's the other side, the O and O? What's his experience? Is he in a gym? Is he in a legitimate gym, or is he kind of just like I did back when I thought, oh, I'm a wrestler. I come in here, I'm gonna take you on and beat you up. No real like gym to train at. So that kind of plays a part to it. And I don't and not everybody's record is a telling tale. You got to look like who is this guy fought. You see some guys that are 8-0 and they haven't fought anybody with a winning record. So you just kind of got to look at things like that, and that kind of decides it. You talk to other state commissions, the promoter if they got any background, you got any info on coaches, stuff like that, and that would be my ultimate deciding factor of should I allow this to go or not.
I think what's also interesting about combat sports, particularly MMA in general, is that the barrier of entry is actually considerably very low for many compared to other sports where
Yeah,
there needs to be, I don't, there is kind of checks and balances. Either you get to it through college, a collegiate thing, or you're scouted. But it's in MMA, like from my own experience, when I fought, I could like, there are people who do not like have gyms
yeah,
who legitimately just are like, I want to fight one day. Just
yep,
and they decided to. And I'm curious when somebody like that is goes is put in front of your desk. Is that is that something that's I mean, what do you do? Like, what do you do about that? Do you still you try to do your research and find out, oh, this person actually is training or they have a
yeah,
coach?
yep. I mean, and then it's like, well, who is their opponent? Because I don't really feel like I should just say, no, man, you can't fight because maybe this guy can fight, and maybe it just takes an amateur fight, and then oh, you meet this guy from this gym that's an hour away, and all of a sudden now you're going there. So I kind of don't want to like turn anybody down. That's O, so to say. I mean, obviously there's outliers to that where you'll get turned down. But yeah, I mean, on regional MMA, you'll see some of the beginning fights. A lot of times the guys are one and done and realize, hey, I don't belong in here. So it's like you basically got to give them one to kind of see where they're at.
Because also the my also so I I was I've been following MMA before it was legalized in New York State and
Yep.
after. And after, like, amateurs in New York, for example, are incredibly strict. Like whatever North Dakota is, and even other states is like the
Yeah.
inverse for what New York, because New York has amateur and then they have advanced amateur, I think it's called, where
Okay.
it's even it's you could do more stuff than amateur, but they're still considered amateur, and then
Yeah.
pro, and then there's certain requirements to become pro as well.
Yep.
So as a commissioner, do you think it's better for MMA fighters where it's kind of a little bit? What do you? I mean, in your personal opinion, what do you think works better for developing MMA fighters? Is it to have kind of like almost kind of like step by step to pro, or is it kind of I don't want to say throwing the deep end to swim, but in a way, it kind of is because the amateur fights in North Dakota are almost treated like pro, with the exception of a few rules.
Yeah, I mean, the only rules that are different is strikes like knees and elbows to the head, and then 3 minute rounds versus five. So it's basically the exact same sport, other than less damage to the head with your knees and elbows. But yeah, you kind of just get in there and test the water. So like piggybacking back to New York, so like in the first amateur fights, do they wear like shin guards and things like that? Yeah. Do they wear headgear?
Everything headgear.
Yeah.
Was it like 10 ounce, 12-ounce gloves, shin
Okay.
guards,
Yeah.
no leg locks except for knee bars, I
Okay.
believe. So that means no heel hooks, no straight ankles are allowed, but you're not gonna straight ankle somebody who's wearing a
Yeah.
knee thing. There's no ground and pound as well. No ground and
Oh,
pound to the
wow.
head. No ground and pound to the head.
Okay.
You do it to the body. The other thing also is that so if you get knocked down in amateur in New York,
Yep.
they could possibly stop the fight. Because
Okay.
also, long story short, so someone who I knew who was a black belt when I was at Matt Serra's school, he was making his MMA debut, and it was amateur. They just legalized it in New York, and he got jabbed and he fell back, but he was bracing himself backwards and fell on his
Yeah.
butt. The referee jumped in immediately and waved it off as a TKO. No,
Yeah.
no, no
Yeah.
room for ground and pound. No wiggle room for him to
Yeah.
get. They stop him pretty darn quick in New York.
Yeah. I mean, I for safety, I mean, it's the way to go. To me, I would like to see it go a little longer and see guys get in there and like kind of test it a little bit. As speaking the fight card in Spirit Lake the other weekend, Joseph Lord, would he drop his opponent 3 times?
Oh god,
I
I
think
lost count. I saw the
he
video.
dropped him, he got up, dropped him, got up, he was walking away, and the kid got back up and dropped him again. Like, so the kid was never out cold. He just was getting hit hard enough to like sit down. So to me, I feel like, yeah. And then the ref stepped in, like, okay, 3 times is enough. I don't think that kid took any too much damage, or he wasn't like, on the ground getting pounded out. So I see the side of the safety, but I like that the other guy gets a chance to have a little bit. But at the end of the day, amateur record doesn't matter. So I guess I don't really have an opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whatever each state. I see both sides of the coin. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
each state says. I would
Mm-hmm.
I would assume in New York there's way more events, way more opportunities to fight. I mean, in North Dakota there was 4 last year. Well, I
Was
guess I
it
should
most?
say there was 6 because I didn't do a
Oh
call,
yes. Oh yes. Yes. Yes.
but
Actually,
4 that the North Dakota Commission regulated.
okay. Okay. Yes. Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. I was getting confused of the you're not the Spirit. We're not counting the Spirit Lake or the Indian
Right.
Red shows. Gotcha,
Spirit.
gotcha.
I don't oversee anything at Spirit Lake. Four Bears out in Newtown, they have their own commission.
And
So
the one in Belcourt as well has their own commission, I believe,
no,
right?
that's us.
Oh, that's you.
Yep,
Oh, okay.
yep. I get the
Okay,
I get the fights out in Belcourt.
gotcha.
So
So that's actually a great point. And speaking of like how a commission works, there was the fight with Justin Lickness and his opponent, whose name I'm forgetting, unfortunately, where
Casey Goulet.
yes, Casey Goulet, where initially it was ruled as a TKO for Lickness, but I believe,
Yep.
but upon reviewing the footage, he gave an
We
illegal,
over I overturned it to
yeah.
DQ win for Casey Goulet because Casey appealed it and then sent me a video, and you can clearly see in the video that Casey was a downed opponent when he got kicked in the face. It was one of those deals where it's like a split second thing, and the ref just didn't quite get there fast enough, and it was ruled a KO. And I honestly, in the moment, I thought he was a downed opponent, but you got to let the ref play it out. And Casey appealed it. And I mean, he didn't want to get a win that way, but by the rules, I sent it off to my inspectors, and we all agreed that he was a downed opponent by rule.
Hmm.
Justin should have been DQ. But I don't
Oh,
want to DQ anybody either. I just hopefully the ref makes the right call, so you don't have to be in that situation. But everything happens so fast that that's not always the way it goes.
speaking of like ABC rules and all that, what do you think? There's still always some sort of when you watch MMA fights in other states, Minnesota, South Dakota. I don't know if you've ever been to Montana to see
No, I
MMA
haven't been
fight.
out to any fights in Montana.
Okay, but you've seen them in South Dakota and Minnesota.
Yep, yep.
What is it that you see other commissions do, and like what is it that you want? What is it that's something that you wish commissions could do? I know it's supposed to be ABC rules, but even ABC rules were not defined because Texas does their own thing sometimes. Nevada does their own thing, including so like what do you wish that you could see all the commissions like come to a agreement or consensus on when it
You
comes to
know,
MMA rules?
I don't really know that there is anything because most states, we pretty much all follow that rule set. And then there's like a conference every summer. So we vote on different things. And as far as I'm concerned, I feel like we're all kind of on the same page as far as that goes. I guess some of the things one thing I don't really care for is like Mike Tyson fighting in last November. Like, no, that's just like, we know it's the money deal, but I don't think Mike Tyson has any business being in there anymore. Father Time takes always wins, you know.
Yes.
Is that a case where somebody does get seriously hurt?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure they ran all the tests. I'm not like dogging on the Texas Commission or anything like that. I mean, I would assume that they took all the right steps to make sure that Mike Tyson belongs in there and he's
It's
Mike Tyson, you
Texas.
know, it's not like somebody's grandpa stepping in there, but
Yeah.
that would be my only thing is just and and there's no real way to tell when should somebody be done? Like how do you tell Mike Tyson, I don't think you need to be in there anymore? Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously if Texas would have said no, they probably would have went to Saudi Arabia or something. You know, it would
Mm-hmm.
happen anywhere.
Well, also if you look at also MMA fighters as well, like BJ Penn near the end of his career, or Chuck Liddell, guys who were renowned for their chin, now they're getting knocked
Yeah,
out in like the first round, or
yeah,
BJ's case, getting knocked out in parking lots. Were like,
right.
um, but I mean, so like when it comes, so I've always said, especially being involved in North Dakota MMA scene, and talking to different people you know who want to have MMA fight, but they say that they're too old. I've always said this, that I always think there should be like a master's division in MMA, like make it just
Yeah,
automatically amateur, but like masters 40 plus or whatever. I think
right.
I wish we had something like that. Oh, I know they had something like in boxing, kind of what I forgot what they
Yeah,
call in boxing.
yeah, I guess, I wouldn't mind that. So you are fighting somebody, around your age because even I'm getting a little older and I'm not the same person I was 8 years ago or whatever. You just your reaction time slows down and we're all, I guess, initially dying,
Oh yeah,
slowly,
if you're not growing, you're dying. That's what I'll say.
So yeah, I guess the Masters wouldn't be a bad idea.
I mean, the other issue, so the like thing of me is like everybody, I'm 38. So like everybody who's I'm gonna be fighting in jujitsu tournaments, MMA is gonna be most likely younger than me, especially at
Yeah,
my weight class.
yeah,
So I've had to kind of learn to just I have I roll most of the time and compete with younger people anyway, so I'm kind of used to that. But I know,
yeah,
you know, I'm sure older people, once you get to like 185 and 90, the higher weight
yeah.
classes, oh boy, I don't think they want to be fighting 20-year-old studs just out of
No,
South Dakota State's Division
right?
One
Yeah,
wrestlers.
yeah. No, you probably don't want that. It's not going to
Um,
end well.
So let's dispel some myths that I think a lot of people think about commissions. And I wrote a bunch down. Unfortunately, I lost the list, but I memorized most of it. So, number one is that people think that you promote MMA. You do not.
I do not. I work with the promoter, so he follows all the steps to promote the event in North Dakota. But I have no financial anything with the promoter. I'm just working with him to ensure that the event runs smoothly and safely.
The other myth that I a bunch of my friends were like that we're saying that a lot of commissions are incompetent. They always make mistakes. They don't look out for the fighter. Can you dispel that as well?
Yeah, I would say the mistakes possibly may happen, but no, fighter safety is the number one thing. And the commission is there, that's like, let's say the promoter doesn't pay you or something. That's like what the commission is in place for. We actually, like, in that sense, we require all the money at the weigh-ins for the purse, and we pass out the money so the promoter can't just be like, "Oh, I didn't sell enough tickets. You're not getting paid." So, no, I would say that the commission is always looking after the fighter.
Mm. And also, I kind of goes back with what we were talking about before with the just Lignes and Goulet's fight, where where Goulet said, "Hey, it was a illegal kick." Showed you the
Yeah,
footage, and it got corrected. It got corrected in
right.
the
And
official
it's
record.
nothing personal. Like, you don't want to take a win away from somebody, but I also don't want it the other way around where Casey's getting the short end of the stick when he took an illegal shot. I mean, that's why the rules are in place so we can enforce them.
Mm-hmm. You've judged before as well, I believe, right? You've judged MMA, I believe.
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
I was asked to judge, and then last minute it never happened. But
Oh,
that is something that I would be all for in the future. I need to go get ABC certified.
okay.
There's a lot of states that require you to be ABC certified to judge. There's like a class and a test you have to take to, and I think that that's a good idea too.
Mm.
But
Um, what are some other myths that people that you think that people have about commissions or commissioners that you like to dispel as well that you could think of offhand? I'm forgetting the rest of my.
I'm not really sure.
Um, let's see. Oh, I guess from a promoter side, uh, commissions make it harder to put on MMA.
Yes, they do. But that's because the promoter usually wants to get by the easiest way possible. And,
Of course.
you know, so
Uh,
it just goes back to we're here to regulate and we're here to make sure everything happens correctly and safely.
mhm. Um, well, I guess so. In the case of somebody who is coming from Minnesota or Canada, Montana, South Dakota, or Iowa, whatever, they have to go through the same process of doing the national MMA ID
Yep.
that you do?
Yep. There's a separate form to submit for the National MMA ID, and I believe those are good for 5 years.
Okay.
So once you do that once, you're all set for 5 years, and then after that is up, it's just resubmitting it. So it doesn't matter where the fighter's from, I can issue their national ID, and then
Gotcha.
they would just have to fill out the contestant license form for the
Mhm.
state of North Dakota.
Gotcha. Oh, here's one a fighter told me is that he thinks that that commissions hinder MMA fighters because um of the medical suspensions. He wants to go right back to fighting
Yeah.
right
No,
after.
there's
So,
a reason why that is all set in place. And realistically, the minimum is a 7-day suspension. So in 2 weeks, you can be back in there again if you won or came out unhurt. But it's all to stop these guys from fighting Friday night somewhere, driving one state over and fighting Saturday night. I mean, we're protecting the fighter when they don't want to protect themselves.
mhm.
A lot of times when you're young and naive, you think, I'm good. But realistically, if you've just been in any sort of combat sports, your brain and your body needs a little time to rest.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you has North Dakota ever put on bare knuckle before?
No.
Okay. Would
Wait,
you?
yeah, actually, Newtown, Four Bears Casino did Ken Shamrock's, was it, I think it was
Oh,
Valor.
Valorant,
Valor. It was
Valor.
like
That
it
was it.
was it was like one of the first bare knuckle events in the United
Really? Okay.
States because BKFC had done their one. I think their first one was over in Wyoming,
Yeah.
and then
And
Ken
they.
Shamrock was one and done. But he brought in
Oh.
some big name vets fought on that. I watched it on pay-per-view.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. But okay. So then that went through their commission. Then the
Yeah, because
okay.
each tribe has their own jurisdiction, so
Yeah.
the state commission has no oversight of that.
Would you sanction a bare knuckle match or show if they were to come to North Dakota?
Personally, yes, but right now I'm not set up to do that. Would
Gotcha.
have to go through the state legislation and all of that.
Oh, okay. It doesn't fall under the combat sport. It would have to be a
Yes, but see, the Secretary of State oversees that.
I see.
So
Okay,
Michael
gotcha.
Howe, our North Dakota Secretary of State, I work under him.
Gotcha.
I'm just
Gotcha.
hired to take care of it because he has other things,
Gotcha.
to handle. So, because we're actually like in the process, we're getting an eye exam added to our medical requirements, but I
Mm,
can't just add it. I just have to go
gotcha.
through all the steps of getting it done. So bare knuckle could become a thing, but as of right now, no, probably not. And then maybe in the next few years, but
Mm.
I would say
They
next couple of years, no.
they put on a big show in Philadelphia recently.
Yeah,
You got
I know.
they're going to Montana. I think they've done shows in Montana.
Yep.
They do them in that the
They did one at Sturgis
yeah
this past
Sturgis,
year.
yes.
I
So
know that the Minnesota director, Matt Showalter, I think he really wants to get it to Minnesota. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of years they have it in state.
oh well, hopefully you could get it before Minnesota does. That'd be great.
I know. Well, I've had people call, but gotta tell them unfortunately I can't do it.
I got you. I got you. Um, what's the hardest part about being a combat sports commissioner?
I would say the hardest part is just getting all the fighters to fill out all their paperwork on time. And we're like scrambling a week before the event to fill out a form that takes 5 minutes to fill out. I would say that's the hardest part.
Mhm.
The most stressful part is like just hoping an event runs smoothly and nothing bad happens to a fighter.
I guess I have to ask since you Chekhov's gun to me, if you know that saying. What's the worst, I guess, incidents that's happened so far under your watch while commissioner at a show?
I would say it was that Casey Goulet Lickness fight. He ended up getting his head split open and had to go get staples.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the worst. The events that I've done so far have ran pretty smooth. The two promoters that I've worked with have been great. They, you know, they've all done it before, so they kind of know what needs to be done, what's expected, how we're
Yep.
going to go about it, and for the most part, I would say yeah, it's went pretty well. So
No, no I'm just trying to think like this if somebody ever like checked the kick and then broke their leg or somebody, I don't know, they climbed the cage and fell off because I remember when
yeah, no,
I
I
don't feel
haven't
like
had any of that. I usually tell them in the pre-fight meeting that no climbing the cage, especially the ones that I've been around here in North Dakota because they don't have the platform on the outside. So it's
mm,
like probably 10 feet
well,
up in the air.
because I remember you said that exact same thing when you were giving the instructions at the thing I fought, and I was thinking like, did somebody once do that and really injure themselves, and it became
Yeah.
like a thing where you had to tell people stop doing that.
Yeah. No, it's just kind of like a warning. Just, hey, come on, don't climb the cage here. Like odds of somebody falling off, probably not going to happen. But the one time it happens, then it's an avoidable thing.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha, gotcha. Um, do you think that North Dakota MMA can become bigger in the next five? I'll say 5 years.
Yes. I think that I think that the two promotions that mostly run events in state are only going to grow. I think that they're already growing, and I think that that will in return bring better, bigger name fighters to town. We can get a better venue, a bigger venue, I guess I should say, not better. We've had nice venues. And yeah, my ultimate goal, which probably will never happen because I don't think that North Dakota has the market, but every July, it's the biggest high school wrestling tournament in the United States is in Fargo at the Fargo Dome. And it's basically the who's who of wrestlers, and half of them are gonna have an MMA fight some point in time. Like last summer, Daniel Cormier was in town, Ben Askren's in town. Even on the broadcast, but Daniel Cormier is like, "Yeah, I just flew out of Fargo right back to Vegas to call these fights tonight." And I just think, how cool would that be to have a UFC fight night to either kick off that week long event in Fargo or to cap it off?
Hmm.
Because
Oh,
you got big name guys are already there, and MMA and wrestling go hand in hand. Like
hmm.
I think tons of people would stay an extra night.
I'm surprised. So UFC never run North Dakota?
Now,
Wow.
Minneapolis, I believe twice.
I feel like they've been to South Dakota maybe once.
I don't
Or
think
oh,
so.
no, no, I'm thinking Bellator. Excuse me, I'm thinking
Bellator's
Bellator.
been a couple times.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay.
There was a rumor that Bellator wanted to go to Grand Forks a couple years ago, but a fighter lost, so it never happened.
I see. I see. Oh, fortunately, that can't happen now anymore.
No, no, maybe we'll get PFL.
Yeah, maybe you get PFL or GFL. Maybe you get
Yeah,
GFL.
I'm interested to
Maybe.
see how that goes.
Oh, let's see.
Is
That's
it
all
going to
I'm
be
gonna.
one and done?
Let's see. That's all I'm gonna say. Let's see. Let's see. Um, but okay, yeah. So 5 years, and yeah. Do you think you know? I think that's the thing is that North Dakota. People forget about North Dakota. People think that
Yeah,
all the wrestlers come from South Dakota, but there's
yeah,
actually a good wrestling scene here in North Dakota.
yeah,
Um, and I definitely feel like yeah, like MMA wise, it definitely can become a bigger thing with the way that's going currently
yeah,
at the rate it's going.
yeah. And I think if we can keep growing it in state and get more events, then that's going to draw more interest from the local wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And even at the two fights that have been in Belcourt, there's a gentleman by the name of Logan Paxton that has fought on both of them, and he trains out in Colorado. I don't know if he's originally from Colorado. I know he's not from in state, but he was a college wrestler at NDSU. And so he was like, "Oh, I'm coming back home." And then there was another former NDSU wrestler, Tyler Diamond, who he was on the Ultimate Fighter, and he still fights in PFL. So I mean, there's been a couple bigger name guys right in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you can catch one of those guys on a local show while he's still in college.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it'd be nice to get that name.
But the problem is though, if it starts to become more and more popular, there might. Do you worry that there could be, I guess, too many rules? Do you think so? Like, what I worry about, what I like about North Dakota is like the amateur scene is very much similar to the pro scene, except with
Yep.
the exception of few rules. I worry that when something becomes more popular, people are gonna want changes that kind of, I don't know, make it more safer than it is. Do you think that's
Well,
all a risk?
no.
Maybe.
I think that our rules are already in place, and because we follow the ABC rules, that I don't think that
Well, I
that'll
mean,
ever change.
like asking for like requesting that there be gear worn for amateur fights or bigger gloves
I
and.
would just say we don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you're not comfortable accepting a fight in North Dakota, then that is what it is, I guess.
I actually when I show my friends who fight in other states, I lie to them and just tell them it's a pro fight since we're not wearing any gear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the level of amateurs that are fighting nowadays, they basically are pros.
Oh, that's true. That's very much true.
I mean, these guys are training at a young age.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Just the skill set of some of these guys already at 18, 19 years old is like, wow, you guys
mm-hmm.
look like pros. Half the time, the young amateurs look better than some of the older pros.
That's true. That's true. I mean, so because I know, so when you started MMA, I guess kind of you said you started as you were a wrestler, so that was kind of like the opening for like
Yeah,
MMA. Now we got kids that are like going directly training into MMA.
right. I don't think that being good at one thing works anymore. I mean, it might take you to a certain point, but there's eventually going to be a line in the competition where you got to be well rounded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Unless
Well,
there's a rare case, but
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, if you just look at the UFC, the guys who are the top. They're good at everything. They're
Yep.
not just a little bit good at everything. They're excellent
Yeah.
at everything.
Well,
Uh,
and I think a big help, like back when I fought North Dakota, there was no amateur fighting.
mhm,
So you were straight into pros, straight into 5 rounds, and then you can't hop over to Minnesota and take an amateur fight.
mhm, mhm,
So I think that was like a big step up in our state was to get amateur fights.
mhm. I'm guessing also, that it that there was also were there a lot of MMA gyms when you first started, or there was like one or two, and then
One or two. You
hmm,
know, there was a big one. There's like two decent sized ones in Fargo. I believe Progressive up in Grand Forks was going at that time, and that was really about it. Otherwise, it was just some of the other bigger cities in North Dakota, just some guys getting together somewhere. There wasn't really like a true team with like a coach that was very knowledgeable. But
mhm. So do you get a lot of, so when fighters are, doing their first fight, do you get a lot of, oh, I train out of a garage with my friends? Is that a common, I feel like that's a common gym
yeah,
in the amateurs.
a lot of times it's like, okay, don't tell me how you're just like in a gym with a heavy bag, or are you in a gym with two other guys, or but yeah, you kind of get that a lot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But those are usually the guys that go one and done or two and done. You're 0 and 2 and you're like, oh, there's some levels to this at this, at amateur level. So
I don't know. Some of the people that I know, and I think you know who people
yeah.
who they still go.
Oh yeah.
10, 10 is
I'm sure between the two of us we could spit off about 10 names right now.
yeah, 10, more like 20. Almost. Um, what was the other thing also I'm curious to know as well. So, do you think that women's MMA could become also a thing in North Dakota? I know that there's not as many women MMA fighters in North Dakota, but I don't know. Is it just, I don't know? Is it more rare for women from North Dakota to become MMA fighters, or is it
Yeah,
just?
I would say it's more rare, but now that girls wrestling is a thing in North Dakota, that's like blown up. I
Mhm,
think in my hometown, I think there might be more girls than boys, and Carrington's like a known high school boys wrestling team. Like
mhm.
for years and years and years, we're always towards the top. So I think with girls wrestling growing, I think so. Yeah, I think you're gonna get these girls who are the top girls in high school wrestling and who potentially may go the college route with it are gonna be like, I should step in here and fight. Like I got that part of the game already. So I do think we'll see a rise in it.
Mm.
It might take 5 to 10 years, but I think we're gonna get more girls looking that to be their next step of competition outside of high school.
Gotcha. Um, I guess that also, I don't know if you can answer this, and if you can, that's totally fine. But just as somebody, who proves a fighter or whatever, what advice can you give a fighter if they want to pursue MMA? Like, is there, or anything that they should know before they want to try and jump into it? What would you say?
Find the gym. You need the gym. That's going to create everything's going to go so much smoother. You're probably going to find out before you even make the walk to the cage if you belong in there or not. So just like get with the right people, get with somebody that knows what they're doing and learn it the right way and take your time. Don't just go to the gym and think in 2 months you're going to have a fight. So I would say just take the proper steps to do it right. So when you do step in there, you're confident and you're skilled enough to go in there and handle your own business.
I can say from my own experience, the walk is a different feeling. It is,
Yeah.
there is something about the walk.
Well, the way I always say is, yeah, I'll take that fight. I'll take that fight. And then the six
Oh,
weeks passes, and then it's like, oh, I gotta
yeah.
I gotta fight that fight now. You look back, your buddies aren't behind you. They shut that door, and it's like, all right, it's time to find
Yep.
out.
Yep. Um, I'm curious to know, has anybody ever, I guess, forfeited or quit before the fight started, under while you've been a commissioner? Like, they just, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know what they call it, fear. Have they ever just like
Yeah,
said, nope, nope, I'm not doing this?
nope. Not in my time as the director or when I was an inspector, no.
Hmm.
But I don't, do you watch Dana White's Contender Series?
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Did
Oh,
you
I know what you're
this
talking about.
past summer that gentleman the night he just said I can't do it.
Yeah.
And they canceled the fight hour right before he was supposed to fight.
Hmm. Hmm.
That guy, I don't know if the guy who he was supposed to fight kind of had a big name coming into it, and I don't know if he just got scared. And but from what I don't know the behind the scenes, but that's how I read it is the guy decided that he didn't want to be a fighter anymore
Hmm. Hmm.
20 minutes before he was supposed to walk to the cage.
Gotcha.
So
I don't know. I thought there'd be like a so more like interesting, like because it is regional MMA, but there's something more. I guess there's North Dakota has like has something. Yeah, I mean, we have regular people who fight on our on the shows, like regular Joes. Not
yeah,
like I feel like if you go to other regional like LFA, everybody who fights in LFA is I don't want to say is professional to some degree, but they're I think they want to take it to the next
yeah,
level. If that makes sense. But I feel like North Dakota, there's something gritty about North Dakota MMA scene where you can have somebody like a Logan Paxton on or Tyler Diamond, someone like
yeah,
that, or even Lucas St. Clair who fought Anthony Smith a
yeah,
couple of years
yep,
ago. But then you have some guy who's works at the factory, who works at
yeah,
the popcorn factory, and he decides, you know what, I'm gonna take a few cardio kickboxing and take a fight. I think
yeah.
there's just something about that that's just so interesting.
I think that like the LFA, I think because of the promotion that they are, they get the pool, you know.
Yeah.
You get the top guys. Like not everybody wants to drive 10 hours to go fight in some small promotion that there's going to be 500 people. Even though I will say the shows in our state, they actually get a really good crowd.
Mm,
But so I just think like LFA, like more guys want to fight on that because of the name value.
mm,
But yeah, back when I fought, there was a gentleman by the name of Pablo Garza, and he was beating everybody up. And I was like 0-3 or something. And this guy's like 4, like, hey, you want to fight Pablo Garza? And I'm like, no, I don't. And then 2 years later, he gets a flying triangle in the UFC. And
mm-hmm,
it's like, so sometimes that can happen where that guy, well, like you said, Lucas St. Clair versus Anthony Smith, you never know who's going to go to the next level that on a regional scene they might cross paths.
mm. I was thinking LFA, but also the one I was really trying to think of was CFFC, which has run in North Dakota. I
Yep,
forgot
yep.
that
They
they run.
they always hold the shows out at Four Bears
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Newtown.
Um, so yeah, you said also get your paperwork in. That's the other thing. If you accept the fight, get the paperwork in.
If you want to be a fighter, doing the behind the scenes stuff is also a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of guys that are true professionals that do it right away, get it done, and I know that it's not a big deal. So
Hmm.
we're
And don't,
working on steps to make it easier too. We're looking to get all the forms online. So I should
uh,
have that hopefully by our first event this year. And
also just
that'll make it easier. I can email a link and you can do it in 2 minutes and it'll get sent right back to me.
also don't lie on your forms if you
Yeah,
have any
don't lie
medical.
on your forms. If there's lying on the forms, there will be a suspension that comes with that.
A long suspension, I believe, right?
Yeah,
It's like I think it's 90 days, maybe, or at least a
for
year.
the first offense is
Okay.
90 days, and then after that, I can do as long as I want.
Uh-huh. Because
I kind of have the final say in that.
yes, so if you have a medical condition, don't don't
Please
lie
don't
about
lie.
it. For your sake, for the promotion's sake, and for your opponent's sake, don't.
Yeah,
Just we'll just
yeah,
put it that way.
yeah.
Uh
We don't want anything bad to happen at these events.
no, no, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, so Carl, anything else you want to talk about that you feel is important that about being commissioner North Dakota MMA that you want to hit on that I haven't?
No, I don't think so. I just think like if you somebody you know is fighting, go out and support them. Buy tickets. It helps the promoter. It helps the promoter make more money, which will in return pay, the guy more. It's just a fun night. I think it's something to go check out. Support local MMA so we can keep having more events and
Mm.
bring in bigger names and put on bigger shows.
Also, dare I say this, and I this is not I don't mean this as an insult, but the great again going back to the whole gritty aspect of North Dakota MMA is that I don't want to say that there's a beauty between people that are not technical, but there is kind of a beauty to it. There's you can find I can with regional MMA you'll get people that are technical, and you'll
Yeah.
get people that are the absolute least athletic people, but they have so much heart and
Hmm.
they have so much fire, and they will not give up. Now that doesn't mean like that they should that should not be their whole career. Eventually
Right,
they
right.
but
Yeah.
but
It
they're
it's it it's
yeah, go
fun
ahead.
to see somebody bite down on their mouthpiece and just keep going when
Mhm.
you can see when the writing's on the wall is. But there's something about that. There's guys that just lay down. There's guys that bite down on their mouthpiece and keep going, and it's fun to see those guys do that.
Mhm. And like I said, North Dakota amateur MMA is the closest you can get to pro uh so far. So, that's if you want to see somebody how they might do as an amateur to pro, it's probably a good litmus test
Yeah.
to see how they might transfer to pro if a fighter ever decides to do that to go from amateur to pro.
Yep.
Let's see. Support the MMA scene. I mean, we got there's gonna be there's gonna be. Do you know how many MMA shows are looking like they're gonna be in North Dakota this year? Do you think?
That I'll have. I'm hoping that I have six.
Okay.
I got I got a pro boxing event as my first event coming up, and then I have, if everything holds up, I got MMA fights back to back to back weekends in April and May. So it's growing.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I don't know if you do you want to put your, I don't know if you want to give a shout out or give your where people can reach you, you're more than welcome to do that as well. I don't know any budding promoters out there that may want to reach out to you like,
Yeah, just
hey,
North Dakota Secretary of State. You can go to that website and you can find my info there, or you can reach out at cclucky@nd.gov.
mhm. And once again, everybody, whether it's North Dakota or your local state, region, county, wherever you're from, support your local MMA scene. Especially if your friends are fighting on it. It'll mean a lot to them. I could definitely tell you that as a fact. And yeah, Carl, I appreciate you talking to me. I think it's a really cool conversation. I hope hopefully people learn some stuff about what it's like to be a commissioner. And dispel some of the myths that people think that commissioners, you guys aren't all hiding under cloaks and being, ruining MMA fighters' careers. No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. You guys are there for the fighters, and
Yeah,
you're trying your best under the circumstances that are there, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
yeah. I try to meet these guys on a personal level too. Try to
Mhm.
get to know them a little bit and see who they are as people. So it's been, that part's been fun. You get to see guys from all walks of life, from the college athlete to the gentleman training in the garage with his buddy.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, Carl, appreciate this talk, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you again on a Grand Forks show or something like that.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Andrew.